Hi, Ms. Gaska here. Today we're going to go over English 4 Semester 1 Week 1, Activity 1.1. To begin with, let's preview the unit. So Unit 1 is going to start off with this image, and its title is Perception is Everything. So, our goals for this unit are to examine the relationship between perspective and critical theory, to analyze and apply critical theories to various texts studied and created, to control and manipulate textual elements in writing to clearly and effectively convey a controlling idea or thesis, and to use syntax and style to create meaning and effect in writing. Our academic vocabulary includes perception, perspective, scenario, marginalize, dominant, subordinate, and imperialism. Our literary terms are literary theory, reader response criticism, mise-en-scène, visual rhetoric, imagery, prologue, vignette, and cultural criticism. To begin, let's start with 1.1, previewing the unit. Our learning targets for this activity are to preview the big ideas and the vocabulary for the unit, and identify and analyze the skills and knowledge required to complete Embedded Assessment 1 successfully. Our learning strategies are think, pair, share, which we won't use because of the online modality, skimming and scanning, close reading, marking the text, summarizing, and paraphrasing. So, making connections. I'm going to get my highlight tool ready. In this unit, you will read a variety of texts to examine the concept of perspective and how one's perception determines his or her interpretation of the world. In this level, you will learn and apply multiple learning theories as filters in order to have deeper and richer ways to think about, interpret, and critique literature and life. You will be introduced to reader response criticism in the first half of the unit and cultural criticism in the second half of the unit. Studying literary theory is a means to make you aware that the world is full of ideologies, theories, and biases through which we construct an understanding of our own as well as others' experiences. So we have two essential questions that you must answer. The first one is, how does your perspective influence perception? So perspective is a way of saying point of view. So how does your point of view influence perception? Perception is a way of saying the way you see things. So how does your particular point of view affect the way you see things? Does your mom or dad have the same way of seeing things that you do? Do your teachers have the same way of seeing things that you do? And this isn't necessarily literally seeing things, although that can vary from person to person as well. It's also interpreting things, thinking about things. So how does your perspective as a person, your unique perspective, affect the way that you perceive things? The second one is, what does it mean to be a stranger in the village? You may have never heard that expression before, but consider being new to a town or a village, not knowing anybody there, and what that would feel like. So here you're describing what does it mean to be a stranger in the village. Developing vocabulary. So it's asking us to go back to the contents page and use the QHT strategy to analyze and evaluate our knowledge of the academic vocabulary and literary terms for this unit. So just to give you guys a reminder, the QHT strategy, the Q stands for question, such as, it's just a question mark for me, I have no idea what this word means. H stands for heard, meaning I've heard of this before, but I don't really know what it means exactly. And then T means teach, meaning I know what this word is, I could teach somebody else what it means. Another way to think of it is in colors. So for those of you who are visual, for example, you could use a stoplight. Q is like a red light. Where it's like, stop, I need to know more about this before I can really understand it. Heard is kind of like a yellow light, which is, I'm going to proceed cautiously, but I still need to know what this word means, but I think I have an idea of what it means. And then finally, we have T for teach. So that one would be green, meaning, okay, we're good to go. I know what this word means to the point where I could teach somebody else what it means. And that would be something that, like, you know for a fact what it is. So let's go back and rate those vocab words as Q, H, or T. So the first one on the list is perception. For me, I know what perception means very well, so I'm going to put T for teach. Now, maybe you don't know perception, or maybe you've heard of it, but you're not quite sure what it is. So you could put a Q or an H, depending on where you fit. So go through each of these vocabulary words and rate them as either Q, H, or T. Q for question, H for heard, T for teach. Also, continue down to these literary terms and do the same thing. Q for question, H for heard, and T for teach. I expect to see a lot more Qs in this literary term section than the other. So, going back to the activity, we're going to go to Unpacking Embedded Assessment 1. So what we're supposed to do is figure out the different things that this assessment is asking us for. So I'm going to get my highlight tool ready, and I'm going to be looking for the verbs, the things it's asking me to do. So it says your assignment is to create and present, so those are two verbs. And what are we supposed to present? A photo essay expressing your perspective on an issue or topic of importance to you. So we're supposed to also express our perspective. You can use the argument, so you can use your argument that you wrote in activity 1.15 to develop a final product using at least 10 images to develop a visual argument. Oh, whoops. Include your intended thesis and a written rationale explaining how your images convey this thesis. So, let's make a brief summary of the things we're going to need to do or know how to do. First of all, I'm going to make this font a little bit smaller. So we're going to need to create a photo essay. We're going to need to present a photo essay. We're going to need to express our perspective on an issue or topic. We're supposed to, well, I guess you don't have to use the argument from 1.15, but it says you can. We're supposed to develop a final product. We're supposed to use 10 images. We're supposed to develop a visual argument. We're supposed to include our thesis. And last but not least, we're supposed to explain in our rationale how our images convey this thesis. So those are the different things you're going to need to do for the final task of this unit. These are the things that your different activities are going to build up toward. So this isn't something we're doing right now, right this moment. This is going to be something we complete at the end of the unit. So as for now, that's the end of 1.1. I hope that this was informative for you, but if you have any more questions, please feel free to ask. Thanks for watching. Take care.